always possible to spend time in the company of people we like in the flesh. Sometimes we need to do it virtually. And today is just such an occasion. It's my great pleasure to talk to an old friend of mine, Aleksandra Przegalińska.
It's my pleasure too.
Who is a leading expert on really the way we interact with technology as human beings. Or should we say, perhaps, the way that technology interacts with us?
It goes both ways, I think.
Doesn't it just? Seemingly, the easiest questions are often, if not usually, the hardest. And I've spoken to a number of AI researchers and engineers, and somehow the definition of what is artificial intelligence attempts to be eluding them.
Yeah, well, that's the hardest question that you could ask, really.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, we'll try to handle it somehow. At least a few responses, I think, are good. Artificial intelligence. There are many responses possible. What is artificial intelligence? I guess, first of all, it's a research project, an ongoing research project that started in the 40s and 50s of the previous century, and was always about creating machines, technologies, programs that could simulate human intelligence, that could simulate human perception, the use of natural language, and that could process information in a way that human processes information, or human brain processes the information. And obviously, these are always approximations because these systems are based on silicon. They work slightly different. But then again, we have managed as an AI community to create systems that do speak, interact with humans, that do process information, that can also be visually perceptive, so they can see objects and detect them, and that can synthesize speech and understand what you say when you use your voice. So that's just, I guess, one of the definitions, a research project that is still not over. Actually, I would say it's in a nascent phase because we have not created a really intelligent artificial being yet. That was the promise at the beginning, and then that promise was somehow, I think, never fulfilled. Even though in the 60s and 70s, some of the researchers said, well, it's going to take just 5 more years and we'll have the true AI.
We've been 5 years away from reaching true general AI for about 50 years.
Yes, yeah, well, exactly. So that's why we had all these AI winters, right, which were the periods where the funding was lacking because everybody wasn't happy with the results of AI research. On the other hand, I would say artificial intelligence are all the endeavors or efforts of engineers to apply the research into real life and create systems that actually do some things, right? So I would say a machine vision system is an artificial intelligence.
These days, anything can be connected to anything, really.
Yes, that's very true. We have a thriving Internet of Things these days, and all the connected objects send data and receive data and process data. And obviously, with the growth of the Internet of Things, I think we should expect more context-aware systems too. So, data is kind of not enough, and I'm quite sure that my field, which is artificial intelligence, will help kind of in making these connected objects also more context-aware objects that will be able to interpret data in the proper manner.
I see artificial intelligence as a potentially huge tool in helping building systems, let's call them, become more, well, to use a cliche term, friendly to us as humans.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very true. So my team and myself, we work on human-machine interaction, and actually making technology more friendly is our biggest goal here. So we did lots of experiments with various sensors to see how people feel interacting with technologies. And I think the same methodologies could be applied to thinking how people could feel, in particular, buildings or spaces. So I'm quite sure that, again, with the growth of the Internet of Things and also with further developments in machine learning, we will be able to understand how people feel and interact with spaces, with buildings also better, and also make possibly these spaces more responsive to their needs and to their current state of mind, let's say, right? So there are many, for instance, now attempts to create lighting systems that could be more attached to how people feel in a particular moment. And I think this is a very interesting sort of sphere where kind of emotions and interactions and human kind of mental states are becoming this context that you were mentioning before for technologies to kind of become more responsive.
Preparing for this gathering here today, we were discussing, among other things, the again, that word context of discrete buildings, discrete projects interacting with the world outside in a physical sense and in a virtual sense. And one of the examples that came up was a hotel, which is inherently a complex organism with many moving parts. These moving parts depend on the time of year, depend on the time of the week, whether it's a weekend or a weekday. People come, people go, they have their individual needs. The marketing system further out there needs to be somehow plugged into the system that manages the building. I see artificial intelligence really working some serious magic in this aspect.
Oh, definitely. I don't know. Have you watched Altered Carbon? That's this recent...
I tried to, and it was just too hard.
It's a dystopia. That's very true. But I think it's a very interesting example. Also, there's one character that is a very interesting example of a smart building and AI at the same time. So that's not a spoiler really, because it's the first episode. But there is a hotel who is also a person, right? So it's like there is a smart hotel that is a building that adjusts perfectly to human needs, and at the same time there is this concierge that is the central operating system, and he's also like interacting with humans, and he's very responsive to kind of their emotional states and their problems.
Who designs the concierge?
The concierge kind of codes itself,
exactly,
but that's a further future, you know. So that's like probably as far as we can go, thinking about artificial intelligence today is a super autonomous system that is able to code itself, right, and optimize itself without
there are only
human
so many
intervention.
Scenarios that you and I could come up with. To design this thing. I mean,
definitely.
There comes a time where it needs to start to design itself.
Well, I think so, especially with such a robust system. You have to have a system that is at least semi-autonomous and semi-unsupervised, by humans. So I think this is a fantastic example of a smart hotel that is at the same time a sort of an interface of interaction with humans, a physical space that is adapting to humans' needs, and also I would say just a building, just a beautiful building that is very nicely retro designed. Actually, it looks like 19th or 18th century hotel. So it's like, for me, it was like the best hotel I have seen so far, I think.
Can you think of any success stories, examples of where, I don't know, a moment of epiphany came upon tough as nails engineer who realized, actually, I need to be thinking about this somewhat differently in order to design things that make sense in the future?
It's 2018, and last year was very important for AI. So 2017 was that wow year for our whole community, I think. And first of all, Sophia the robot gained citizenship of Saudi Arabia, as you may know, which is a PR, which is public relations, but it is interesting and important on the level of how AI will socialize.
It is a milestone, right?
Yeah, it is a milestone somehow, even though it is a PR move at the same time. But that's obviously not the most important thing that has happened in 2017, because I think the most important one was obviously AlphaGo Zero. AlphaGo Zero, a system that defeated all humans basically, in the traditional Chinese game of Go, and then defeated itself.
It defeated the best humans.
The best humans, the champions, obviously, and now it's the only champion of Go. And it's not only the champion, but it's also a system that proposed a new way of thinking about the game of Go. So it said, okay, you were playing this game for like 2,000 years or more. in a way that was okay, but I can show you how to play it better.
Which the master, if I remember correctly, described as a beautiful game.
Yes, a beautiful game, a non-human game at the same time. So it's like a very important milestone because it has shown us that technology indeed, and AI in particular, can be a supplement to our cognitive systems. So it can be really something that shows us things that we wouldn't be able to see without it. And I think AlphaGo Zero, I don't really think it, I know it, is not going to be just used for playing Go, right? In the future, it's going to be deployed in medicine, probably, I would assume, also in smart cities, and collection of data from sensors everywhere, ubiquitous sensors. It will be used in education. It has a vast potential of usage in so many different spheres. So I think that this deep learning system that has exceeded human capacities of thinking about this particular game, this specialized AI is something that was the biggest wow of the decade.
Within the industry that we're looking at today, let's look at where the opportunities are for people to maybe shift their careers somewhat, maybe look at ways they can apply their existing skills, learn a few more things, and then explode into life.
Well, we were talking about many different things here, including also AlphaGo Zero, which is a system that is supposed to help humans in solving certain tasks better. And I think that AI as a field has a role to play in supplementing human work or augmenting it somehow or making it better. And I don't necessarily think that artificial intelligence or generally high technologies are supposed to take away human jobs or human professions and the meaning of life. I think they're supposed to optimize something that wouldn't be possible without them, at that level. Obviously, computers, machines have a higher computational power than humans, and it's natural that they will be better at certain tasks. And, in medicine, you already see how a doctor could help expert systems, for instance, in diagnosing patients. And I think the same goes for many other industries where AI or machine learning can actually help in building better products and designing better services for other humans. So I know that the fear of AI is big, and I think this fear stems from the fact that we don't have a thorough debate about where we would like AI to go and where do we want to take, and that many people just don't feel kind of skilled enough, or that they don't have enough expertise to actually discuss these topics. But I think it also will change in the future. Many more people will understand where technology is going. We have digital natives growing up with technologies, and I think that they will feel much more confident in these environments, and they will be capable of such discussions. So it is true that on one hand, technologies do take away some jobs, low-skilled jobs, but on the other hand, they can create jobs that we have never thought of. And when it comes to buildings, I can think of one very good example of a profession of the future that is related to architecture, and on the other hand it's related to artificial intelligence, and that's space habitat engineer, for instance, right? And designers of space habitats in the future. If we take the exploration of space seriously, then this is definitely an option, right? Where technology steps in, where artificial intelligence and various applications of AI kind of step in to design habitats that are proper for the future humans that will occupy these spaces in some way or another. So most definitely we can think of even more examples how current jobs can be supplemented by AI systems, and through that we can create new products that we have not thought of before, and that's definitely an optimistic vision.
Well, we can continue like this for hours. This is a huge subject, and really it fits in all around the other discussions that we're having today. Computing power, artificial intelligence, machine learning, these are all things that will be coming really huge over the horizon in the coming year, 2, 3. And I thank Aleksandra for being with us today, albeit virtually.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see you again soon.
Definitely.
And let's get on with the show.